Yeah.
Hey, Henry. Hey, Tim. How you doing today? My name's Terrell, Big Gold Belt Media. How you doing?
Hey,
How,
dude.
how you doing? How you doing? Hey, I wish you guys would have warned me that this was going to hit me pretty deep after watching this movie.
Sorry.
Some type of warning. Man, my first question to you guys. I mean, how does it feel to father son team here to be able to work on a movie of this caliber?
Oh man. I mean, obviously, I love collaborating with Dad. I love hanging out with the man. He's one of my best buds, and it was really fun and incredibly rewarding. Yeah, man.
How do you?
Uh,
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I've been watching Henry build to this moment for well over a decade. He told me he wanted to make movies when he was about 12. And already when he was that age, the qualities of a serious filmmaker, if you can believe it, and I really mean this, were manifesting.
Oh well, I don't know about all that, but thanks,
And
man.
and I've just watched him put skin in the game, writing and writing and writing. He's a guy who writes every day without fail. He holds himself to a standard of creative output that's incredible for um, someone my age, let alone his age.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I couldn't be more privileged than to be able to be a part of his first movie.
Thanks, Dad.
The tears are flowing. Uh, I guess with that, like working with family, how do you? I mean, you cast your dad as the lead here, you know, and also directing the movie. I mean, as a director, you're taking criticism from your son on certain things, and you've been acting for God knows how long. How do you kind of like put that to the side and say, hey, I'm doing a movie here. This is a project. Let me put everything to the side to get this done.
You know, that's an interesting question because there were it was all about for me modulation and trying to figure out where how can I advantage the closeness that Henry and I have as father and son, and by exploiting that,
Right.
and then at the same time, when is it more appropriate just to abrogate that? And a really interesting moment was Henry wanted the character to wear glasses, and I just didn't see it. And I had to stop. And I don't think I've ever told you this, Henry. I had to stop and say, look, to myself, you've got to give Henry the space you would give any director, and you've got to go with this. And so I did, and he was right. It's so that aspect of the character. It was such an entry point for me. Not only was it the right choice, but it helped me play the role. And so it was just it was a balancing act, but between exploiting everything I know about Henry in service of trying to give him what I understood he wanted in the telling of this story, because I'd watched him write it and I've watched him grow up, and I knew personally what he had at stake in terms of, every character belongs to the writer.
Right.
And so all the insecurities of the characters from Tom to Beth Ann are ultimately stuff that Henry is working out. And I, have been had a front row seat for all that, raising him. And so in that respect, I wanted to exploit being his father. But then in other respects, I had to just say, no, he's a writer director, and he's 70 years old, and he's been doing it for decades.
Right.
And you need to trust him, and give him that level of authority.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like your dad just said, Henry. I mean, testament to the writing here. I mean, there was no way. I mean, I've watched a lot of movies, but I honestly could not predict how this was gonna go and where it was gonna go. And when it got to where it went, I had to pause it for it. I was like, what just happened? You know, I was very again just a testament to the acting from Chloe, from Tim, and everybody involved in the movie. But geez, man, like uh, I'm just, I mean, the experience. I mean, just seeing people that we don't necessarily pay attention to, or seeing how they live off the grid, not in the traditional sense of how, you know, you're starting to see a lot more stories about people living in like containers and stuff like that, which now of course that just alerts all the companies now to start checking these more often.
Yeah, I might have just done like a really shitty thing to like the off the grid community.
You done messed it up
No,
for.
I just fucked it up for everybody. No, oh man, that's so sweet of you to say, man. Thank you.
No, really, like I said, really good. But I mean, I could only imagine like the mind frame you were in to get this script wrote, man. I mean, because this is definitely like a little bit of not experience to that world, but just the family, the core, like you said, the core family like, between Beth and Tom, and just how they deal with each other, man. You definitely can feel the experience and the love in that scene, even though we later, you know, get what we got, but yeah, it was really good.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
was there anything that didn't make the final cut that you wanted to put in as far as the writing and like?
You know, I mean, as I look back at it now, there's like stuff that I kind of wish I had written, and then there's a really strange, interesting dream sequence that is actually not in that we shot that's not in the movie, and it makes sense that it's not in the movie, but I do love the dream sequence. You know, it certainly was a really interesting moment while we were shooting it, and that never ultimately made it, and the movie's ultimately better without it, but I do have affection for that day we shot it, and also like um Jared Abramson's performance in that scene and Chloe's, and I remember that being a really weirdly important thing while I was writing it that just ultimately didn't didn't make the cut.
I mean, you feel like that was leaning, like that particular scene was leaning too much towards the ultimate reveal, or like it
I
just
think
wasn't necessary.
I think it wasn't necessary. I think the movie was trying. I think in I think the two reasons why that scene's not in there. One of them, first and foremost, it's pacing, and then the other thing is it was kind of like a hat on a hat, um, and it ultimately, and this almost sounds contradictory. It was somehow both a hat on a hat and didn't feel poignant enough,
Right.
and um, that's what ultimately it didn't. That's why it didn't ultimately work. And I think that it was really the dream sequence itself was like really out, and I think that what was really what I think is what I really wanted to try to do with the movie is try to find almost organic absurdism where like you know Tom and Jose happen upon a bunch of Satanists,
Yeah.
you know, randomly, but you could sort of almost believe that, or stuff like that, or people living in boats on land in the middle of Ohio. You know, it, it, it's these things are absurd, but you ultimately, hopefully, you can ultimately, if I've done my job, you ultimately believe it. And I think that what didn't work about that dream sequence is it took away from that element.
Okay. Well, look, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up here, guys. Henry, you have gained a fan. I will be looking for anything you put out going forward. I mean, if you hit it out the park with this, you know, this is first movie, whatever. I'm pretty much, you already know, I'm gonna be buying a ticket to everything. I
Oh
hope
man.
I hope that scene makes it on the Blu-ray copy too, if that's
Oh,
possible.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. And
uh,
yeah, we got a music video coming out for. Oh, we're gonna start working on a music video for a group called Shrapnel soon. So check that out.
okay, okay. And Tim, I don't think I'm be able to look at you with the same after this role, man.
All right, cool. Nice talking to you.
It's been definitely seeing all your movies, seeing you transform in this role. You did a really incredible job. Thank you, Tim. This was really, really good.
All right, it was our pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
man.
You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for doing this interview with me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
I